My name is Brian Myers. I'm an applications developer with Logic, and you are in the 2:30 to 3 session entitled Using Technology to Adapt to Unexpected Challenges, presented by Kerry Zwierschke. I got that right. Kerry is a principal engineer and project manager at Bennett and Williams Environmental Consultants. Bennett and Williams has over 20 years of experience focusing on the information barriers and challenges facing water and wastewater utilities as they implement GIS-based solutions. The GIS-based management system supported by Bennett and Williams provides a foundation for asset management distribution and collection system mapping, application or appliance assessments, and water quality assessments and monitoring. Kerry currently leads the Bennett and Williams team that develops and deploys GIS solutions for rural and small to mid-sized communities and trains end users in both desktop and online applications of GIS. Before I turn it over to Kerry, I'll just throw out a quick reminder to enter questions in the chat window, and they will be addressed at the end of the presentation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kerry.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, so today we're going to talk about using technology to adapt to unexpected challenges. And I will tell you up front that I think my biggest unexpected challenge this week is going to be handling Zoom and all of these things. So bear with me and let's see where we can go with this. So 2020, I'm not sure if it's true for everybody, but I'm sure it's true for many of us. It's been kind of a wild ride. We manage and provide GIS solutions to water and wastewater utilities and municipalities, and we do so in Kentucky, Ohio, and Georgia. So 2020 started off in a pretty good way for us. I was traveling. I was in Kentucky a few times. I was down in Georgia. I was meeting clients. And then in March, our governor grounded us. Pretty early on, he canceled some things, and we ended up just not traveling and not leaving the state, and not even traveling to clients very much. We've been doing a lot of it remotely recently. So as soon as the governor decided that things were, not going to be business as normal in 2020, we started to assist clients as they tried to deal with some of the challenges that the coronavirus pandemic has leveraged on us. I will say that some of these challenges, I think you could see they'd happen in other times and places, but 2020 is just the year of coronavirus. So some of the things we were trying to do, we were trying to make jobs safer. We were trying to utilize technology to minimize contact between people while still not losing decent communication. And we were helping clients to meet state required capacity limits and inform their consumers of these limits and when they might be able to come. So I've got a series of examples, and we're going to run through and just see what we've been up to. So first of all, perhaps who we work with. In general, we work with rural and county-wide water systems. These tend to serve somewhere between 3,000 and 45,000 customer accounts. Some of these are within a single county, but many of them serve multiple counties, and some of them up to 7 counties. We also serve municipalities that have usually less than about 3,000 customer accounts. And in those 2 arenas, we do GIS solutions that help in the water, wastewater, parks, zoning, streets, and maintenance departments. Where in general, our clients are really interested in technology and all the applications and all the benefits that they can bring, but they might be without specialists to be able to do it themselves. They might not be quite big enough to have like a full-time GIS person. So we can either support people who are learning GIS and who are becoming specialists, or who are specialists, or for some of our clients, there's 5 people who are running a water system, and then we tend to manage the GIS system for them. So March 2020, the governor shut Ohio down the first things were canceled around March 3rd or 4th. By the 23rd, we were all at home and working remotely. And the day that he announced that everyone was going to work remotely unless you were essential was the first day that I got a call from a client. This client was already using ArcGIS Online for mapping. They're a water utility in rural Ohio, and they have about 4,500 active customer accounts. So they were using maps, and what you can see down on the screen, I'm gonna sort of move the mouse down here, is a zoomed in area. Their meter readers actually use this map and have been for a couple of years. The yellow diamonds are meters that they don't have to get out of the vehicle to read. They can just drive by and the reading is recorded by the software. But the red triangles and the green squares, those are meters they have to get out of the car or the truck to actually touch to get a reading. So they were starting to use the GIS to kind of make this more effective as they change out meters. And as they go to more and more yellow diamonds, we don't want them spending a lot of time jumping out of the car to go visit meters they don't need to see. So we started just with a very simple map that shows them, okay, when you're driving down this road, I need to get out of the car and visit this meter to get a reading, but I can drive straight past all these other ones and not actually get out. So they had a mapping system that showed them the location of pipes, meters, valves, but they weren't doing necessarily a whole lot with it, but they wanted to. And as it turned out, coronavirus was sort of an impetus to have them do more with it. So their superintendent for water called me and said, I need mobile work orders and I need to be able to see all of my asbuilts on the map and I need it tomorrow, which of course everybody needs something immediately. But they were doing it because their field employees, they didn't want them in the office contacting the office staff. They wanted them working remotely as much as possible, going from their houses to job sites, not having to come to the office to pick up a paper work order. So, mobile work orders. We actually have several clients using Esri's Workforce as their solution for mobile work orders. And in addition to that, we've integrated it into a utility billing company software. So if you're using this particular billing company, then work orders go directly from the utility billing software straight out to Workforce and back into the billing software. So that's kind of nice. This client was not yet using Workforce. They wanted the mobile work orders, but we didn't have time to do a complete integration into their billing system. So it's not ideal, but we sort of set up a standalone work order system in Workforce. And it sort of gave them the ability to do the mobile work orders without the full integration. So the full integration is still on the schedule for next year for this client, but their guys in the field got a crash course on how to do work orders on the field. So what they needed was they needed to allow their field personnel to get work orders without having to come into the office to pick up printed work orders. So they didn't want pieces of paper being transferred from hands to hands, and they didn't want all of their field guys gathering at the office at the beginning of the day. They felt like if we minimized the contact between people, if one person did get sick with coronavirus, hopefully they wouldn't pass it on to anybody else in the utility. This is a fairly small utility. They have 5 field guys, and the thought of all of them getting sick at the same time wasn't a particularly good thought. So they also wanted to minimize contact between field personnel and office personnel. Unlike many of our clients, they actually isolated field personnel into 2 groups in the hopes that if one group got sick, the other group would be able to continue to run the utility. So mobile work order solution was operational within days. Right now, unfortunately, the office staff do have to create work orders in the billing software, and then they turn around and create them again in Workforce. So when we do get the integration into the billing software, which is scheduled, I think, for March of next year, it will obviously make the workload lighter in the office, because that integration will not only send them from Workforce or from the billing software into Workforce, but it will also bring all the completion notes back in directly into the billing software. And so there's no retyping of any of those notes. They come into the system just as is. So I'm going to show you a video of workforce and sort of what this looks like. And you're going to hear my voice narrating it, so don't be too confused by that. Let me see if I can get this to go.
Okay, let's take a quick look at how workforce works in practice. Your worker will receive notification of a new work order on their mobile device. It will make sound and it'll pop up a notification. So they're aware that a new work order has been added to their list of things that they need to do. Next up, your worker is going to open Workforce and be able to see a listing of all the work orders assigned to them. As they click on the work order, they can see details about where the work order is located and what is expected of them. Here's a closer look at what they're seeing on the Workforce program on the iPad. You can see the address where the work is to be performed. It's up here. You can see what work is required from you, who has assigned it, and you can see how urgent it is and when it is due. So that gives them all the information they need before they even get to the site to pack tools and make sure they're good to go when they get there. So obviously the fact that this was a medium priority didn't stop our worker in this example from running down those stairs as fast as she could to get started as soon as possible. And because Kira doesn't do anything normally, she's going to cartwheel on her way to the work order. Once they get to the correct location, she's going to click Start to notify us that the procedure, the work she's going to do, has been begun. And when they click Start in the field, we're able to see that there's now a green bullseye on the screen, so we can tell that this work order has been started. Next, the worker is going to perform whatever service they're out there to do. In this case, to flush a hydrant and inspect it for leaks, or pretend to. After completing their work, the worker is going to add notes to the work order. The sound isn't working on the video. She's saying, "Hi, my name is Kira." And hopefully your worker will add notes that might be a little bit more useful than that. Then she's going to close the work order by clicking Finish. Back at the office, the work order changes to a solid green dot, and we can see the notes that were added in the field back in the office. Kira used talk to text to create these notes, but you can also type into the mobile device. We can also see the date and the time that she completed the work order, and if the worker had added any attachments or photographs to the work order, you would also be able to see them. Now, this is a different work order that does have a picture attached to it, and clicking on that link under attachments will open up the picture. So the customer service can see whatever the guys in the field believe they need to see back in the office. Okay.
Let's not show that again.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so that's how Workforce works. The other thing this client needed rather urgently was to show their as-built maps in the field. One of the things their guys get in at the office is if they're going out to fix a leak or to turn off valves, they'll actually use the as-builts to provide a lot of reference points to them. But they didn't want the guys in and out of the office and grabbing maps, so they wanted to show the as-builts on the mapping system. So we ended up sort of adding their as-builts to the map. So I'm going to just show you sort of how that works. This is a much shorter video.
So if you're looking at your iPad and you go into Explorer,
you can see the map that the system you're in, and the pink squares are actually where we have asbuilts available for this system. So if we were to click on one of the squares, it'll tell us that there is both an image link and a page link. If we click on the image link, it's going to access it in Safari, and this is the as-built for that area where you're standing. So you can see it includes a lot of different pieces of information. We can see that there's a 13-foot Class C stream crossing. We can also see that below the line there's a series of measurements from the center line of the road to the pipe. So if there's any inaccuracies in the GIS, hopefully this will help you locate the pipe. And the page link will actually take us to the page from the plans where we were looking.
Okay, so my next urgent call came from a municipality. They actually run an aquatic center, and the governor had changed all the limits and capacity limits on all of these locations in May. So their location was down to about 90 people, about a quarter of what it normally is. And their problem was, how are they going to track how many people are in the facility at any given time? Because this is not a facility that often runs full. And then how to notify the community. I mean, it's all very well to say, okay, we're full, we're not letting anybody else in. But if people have driven 15 or 20 minutes to come to the pool, they're going to be probably fairly mad if you then turn them around. So they wanted to be able to notify their community in real time so that if people wanted to go to the pool, they would know ahead of time if there was space or if they should just try and come a different day. So the solution for them was to use a program called Quick Capture and a dashboard that was linked on the village's webpage so that any data entered in through Quick Capture would then be reflected literally every 3 or 4 seconds. It was updating on the village webpage. So I'm going to show you how that one works.
You can see the dashboard on the website tells us that 64 people are currently at the pool, meaning that there are 26 open places. The attendant is going to open Quick Capture on the phone, and then as 2 people enter the pool, going to press the entry button twice to record them coming into the pool. When we refresh the dashboard, it now shows 24 open swimming spaces, meaning that there's an occupancy of 66. Now, if somebody leaves the pool, the red exit button is pressed, and that records the exit on Quick Capture. Refreshing the dashboard again shows us that there's an occupancy of 65 with 25 open places. The dashboard gets data from ArcGIS Online every 10 seconds, so the data on the website is continually up to date. The municipality using this system told us that it was, quote, really helpful this crazy summer. Even after the first day, they told us that, quote, we have had folks using it already, and it seems to have assuaged some of the frustration expressed over not being able to get into the pool.
So since then, we have been working with lots of new and existing clients to provide GIS-based solutions. And some of the things we've been employing is Survey 123 to track asset management related tasks. We've had a lot of focus this year on complying with regulatory issues, particularly in Ohio, where we have some new regulatory requirements related to asset management. We've been working to enable field personnel to collect GIS with minimal training. As you can see in the pictures on this slide, I spend a lot of my time outside and inside at different utilities and municipalities training their people to use the system. So one of the exciting things this year has been working out how to do that without being in close contact. And one of the other things we developed and deployed a few places this year is an online calling list system. So the guys in the field, when they're fixing a leak, they can actually create a calling list on the iPad on the fly, and they upload it on their iPads to a calling list company so that customers can be notified of outages. And one of the first things we did with that system was actually to set a series of system-wide notifications to various water utilities, telling their customers that you can't come into the office. You know, you'll need to pay your bills online. If you need to talk to us, use the phone, and we'll be there, but we're not going to be having people inside the office. The other thing we've been really focused on is addressing challenges relating to the archiving of data from ArcGIS Online. If anyone's using ArcGIS Online, you'll know it's a really good system, but a lot of times you don't want to be storing all of your data out there. So we've been developing a series of tools that we use in-house that allow us to use ArcGIS Pro to archive data from ArcGIS Online back into geodatabases on our computer. For workforce in particular, it really is optimal, to keep the number of work orders in that system at below 2,000. And if you're a fairly large municipality, you may be doing, 800 work orders a month. So some sort of system for downloading and archiving those so those don't get lost forever has been a really useful thing. So challenges and lessons learned. We've been learning how to deploy solutions while still maintaining social distancing. I have never been more grateful for all the screen sharing options that we have around the place at the moment. And they're definitely getting a workout at my office. And when the internet goes down, all bets are off because everything goes crazy. We're demonstrating that in-person contact or lack of in-person contact doesn't have to impair communication within the organization and to customers and stakeholders. You may have to be a little bit more creative, but there are lots of ways to get communication out to your stakeholders and also to other people within the organization without necessarily having to be in the same room as each other. One of the things that's been fun is we've been using GIS tools for all sorts of different applications. So the Parks and Rec example of the pool, we'd never done GIS for that department, for that municipality. We did a lot of work for zoning and for water and wastewater, but really nothing for Parks and Rec. But they called us and they just needed an application. And so it was really neat that we got to do something a little bit different, which is why I wanted to show you that particular application. We've been decentralizing GIS applications. In the past, we used to have one GIS specialist in a municipality or an organization. Sometimes, if they're big enough, you'd have a couple, but it was one or two people and they would control this data. But it's so much easier if we can decentralize and have more people trained. So one of the things that coronavirus brought to our attention was, well, it's great if one person can do this job, but what happens if they get sick or aren't able to do it? So we did. We spent a good deal of time cross-training people and making sure that the apps that are on the iPad are far more user-friendly. It's far easier to teach somebody to learn to use the apps on an iPad than it is to teach them the whole whole breadth of possibilities in ArcMap and ArcPro. So from that perspective, it's really challenged us to create applications like that, one of which is this calling list application that there are pictures of on your screen. And it does definitely require some technical knowledge to set up the applications, but it doesn't require a lot of technical know-how to run them once they've been generated. So we've had a lot of success with that type of thing this summer, which has been good. Okay, I think I finished a couple of minutes too early, Brian. So do we have any questions?
Well, I'm not seeing any in the chat window. If anybody does have a question, just feel free to unmute yourself and feel free to ask. I know I've got one.
Okay, go ahead.
What's the tools? I know that you haven't done it yet, or it's yet to be. It's in the works. What are the tools and technology you plan on using for integrating your billing system with Workforce?
So actually, it is done, which is really exciting. We integrated about 3 years ago with the billing system, and we actually generated a little program for the first generation. So the billing software people will just enter data into their billing software. And then there's what we call a synchronizer. It's a little piece of programming that they would open. And it actually essentially translates, right, the database, the billing database into ArcGIS, into Workforce. And it does the reverse. It also grabs them from Workforce and puts them back into the billing system. So that was sort of the first generation. And then about a year ago, the billing software switched it up a little bit, and they went into a more cloud-based, SQL-based database. And now that programming is actually embedded inside the billing software. So when you're in the work order screen and creating a work order, you can actually hit send to Workforce, and it sends that work order straight out to Workforce. And then when, you know, if you want to grab information back, you just hit update work order, and it brings information back in. So it's actually pretty slick.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Is that a, what technology was that developed in that custom?
You know, I didn't do that coding. So I know it's not through APIs, because we kind of wish we had done it that way, because it would have been easier to update. But yeah, it's, I think, I don't know, 8 or 9 utilities across Kentucky and Ohio are currently using that software. And it's neat because it really does give the billing people sort of better quality data. You know, when the guys in the field are putting notes into Workforce and they're using talk to text or typing, they're putting like readings in for meters. And there's no more of this, I can't read your handwriting, or, you know, who mistyped, who miswrote, because everything goes directly back into the billing software and is not touched by human hands again, which, you know, is kind of a good thing.
Nice, nice. I know in the GIS world, you know, we always, or I've seen it multiple times where you have to integrate two separate systems, and you know, the more you can do that, the more streamlined you can make your workflow, and less effort to maintain things.
Well, right. I mean, the goal is, right, to put data in one place and use it multiple places, rather than recreating the data in different software packages, all of which, you know, use the same information.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has time to type data in twice. I mean, I don't anyway.
Good deal. Is there any other questions, Kerry?
Well, if anybody does have questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the screen, and if you can't spell all of that, you know, not enough vowels and too many consonants in that address, my cell phone number is down there. You can always give me a call if there's anything you want to chat about.
All right. Well, excellent presentation. Thanks, Kerry. Just a reminder about this evening's virtual social and virtual map gallery. Be sure to check those out. And unless there's any other questions, we'll just wrap this up. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kerry.
Thanks, Brian.